Hey, this is Jaryd Krause, host of the Buying Online Businesses podcast. And in this episode, I'm speaking with Adam Hudson, who is the co-founder of Reliable Education, where they have over 11,000 students, totaling over $1 billion in sales. He's also the founder of Zon Guru, which we talk about in the podcast episode, and also the founder of You Spired. Now, Adam is a serial entrepreneur who has owned many big businesses over his 20 plus years in business and has spoken with greats like Robert Kiyosaki and Tony Robbins. And Adam has an absolutely brilliant business mind. Now, in this episode, it's jam-packed with great content about Amazon businesses. We talk about how to de-risk your FBA business once you have purchased it. We also talk about growing your business with Amazon pay-per-click campaigns and how it can be quite similar to Google ads. And we also talk about finding keywords to rank for and why it's important to find keywords to rank for, and how to find different products, how to add more SKUs to your product range and make more money with Amazon. Now, this is an absolutely amazing episode, which I'm sure you will love. And before we get stuck into this episode, I want to tell you that this podcast is not the only way you can get free help from me. I have my due diligence framework 2.0, which everybody has been raving about, which will help you with knowing what to look out for when you're buying a website, including questions to ask the seller and everything that you need to know to buy a good website business. So go to buyingonlinebusiness.com/free resources, and there's some other awesome free resources you can check out there too. Now let's get stuck into the episode. Hey, Adam, and welcome to the Buying Online Businesses podcast. Thank you so much for your time. Greatly appreciate it, and looking forward to a chat.
Yeah, mate. Can't wait. Thanks for having me.
It's quite funny. You live like about 5 or 6 streets north of me on a beautiful stretch on the Gold Coast, and we're just talking about our lifestyles and how lucky we are and how much we've worked towards getting towards that. So a lot of people listen to this podcast are interested in buying website businesses, and a lot have bought FBA businesses. In our space, we call them FBA, Fulfillment by Amazon. You traditionally call them Amazon businesses. You know, you've talked about different markets between, the US market in Amazon and the EU and also Australia and stuff like that. And sometimes you're able to get a lower CPA, cost per conversion or acquisition for a customer in different markets, like the EU versus America. Would you say if you were to, say, buy a business, would you be looking at like an Amazon business? Would you be looking more towards something like EU where you can achieve a lower cost per acquisition type thing?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I probably wouldn't make that a predetermining factor because it's extremely nuanced in Amazon. So I'd be more looking at each business case in its own right. How protected is the product? How big is the niche? How many competitors are in the niche? How clever is the idea? It's really about sustainability, in my opinion, with the category that you're in. And because Amazon being such a big marketplace and so famous now, I look for those sort of businesses that have sustainability first. Otherwise, you're sort of splitting hairs with CPAs as opposed to eroding value of the overall business because you picked the wrong category, niche, or protectability aspects.
I love that you mentioned, what particular niche and scalability and I like to call it evergreen, an evergreen niche, because there's sometimes people, and I see traditionally on Amazon, people may go, all right, cool, I can sell these cheap, fatty, gimmicky products, and you can make a whole bunch of money in a short time frame, but you're out of business in maybe 2 or 3 years, right?
100%, yeah. Protectability is a really key one. Like in Amazon FBA in Australia, 50% of Amazon Australia is Chinese already. Every 1 in 2 sellers on Amazon Australia is Chinese. So, you've really got to look at the protectability of the niche that you're in, how attractive it's going to be to others to compete with you, what deterrents you can put in place or are in place, the complexity, the moat around the product and business. Those are the things that I would be looking for first and foremost if it was me.
So there's a lot of protectability. Like if you're going to start an Amazon business, is what you guys teach in Reliable Education, there's a lot of things that you can put in place from the very start. But when you go away and buy, say, an Amazon business, would you see there's opportunities to put in some protectability measures and reduce your risk?
Yeah, there are certain protectabilities. If they're an established Amazon business, depending where they are, if they're sort of dominating high in the rankings, really it's about protecting the rank, right? So, and the thing that the strategy to try and steal rank from people is usually price. So, are they ranked high with a really high price, loads and loads of margin, and no competitors yet? If they are, that's great. But if there's loads and loads of margin in there and they're making really good money, the chances of them having competitors in the near future is probably pretty high unless they have a patent or something like that around what they're doing. So it can be sustainable when you're operating on a fairly thin margin already and they're dominating the top, because if they're dominating the top and there's already a thin margin but the margin's acceptable, then that in itself is a form of protection, because people can't just come in and undercut you because you're already operating at, let's say, 15, 20% margin. If it's any less than that, I don't see the point of being in business, right? You might as well go and invest in the share market if you're getting less than that, because the risk of business versus those other asset classes is just incomparable. I'd want to be seeing triple what I get from the stock market to be in business for all the headaches that you go through.
Yeah, and even, if we were to come into the stock market, there's still that risk involved in that asset class or, investment
100%.
class compared to maybe, say, real estate. Because I know that you like to teach people to get into business, earn some money in that sort of light, and then move it to a more stable sort of asset or investment class, right?
That is the whole game of business, is move money from high risk locations into low risk locations. So if you understand the stock market, then that's your low risk location. If you understand the property market, then move it into the property market. People who become rich and stay rich, go into business, pull the profits, invest it into property or invest it into the stock market. That's it. That's the whole book right there.
Yeah, and it's so important, like, to mention that in this episode, especially to my industry, where people are buying website businesses, and website businesses can also be more risky than brick and mortar type businesses when we have algorithms change, such as Google or Facebook, and even in your space, an algorithm change can happen with Amazon, and people can lose their top ranking. So talk to me about that ranking in Amazon. Like, is there a certain thing that education we need to understand to maintain those rankings, or is it just like optimizing our images and our product description as well?
I always say to people, if you think about Amazon, right? Amazon's a shopkeeper, and a click is somebody walking in the door of the shop. So somebody searched and they hit click to see what comes up. Amazon arranged the salespeople in the order of the person who is most likely to make them the most money first. So that doesn't mean most likely to make a sale. It means the most likely to make them the most money. So the number two guy might have twice the sale price of the number one buy, but if he's selling anything better than one and two of the other guys, he's going to make Amazon more, even though he doesn't sell the volume. So Amazon just simply rank products in the likelihood of getting a transaction at the highest value to Amazon. So it's a combination of transaction volume, transaction price, and that's pretty much it. So if people want to game the system to get ranked, what they do is they drop the price of their product, they run some ads to it, and then bang, because it's the cheapest one there, like artificially cheap, all of a sudden the conversion rate on that product is like 1 in 2 people are buying this product. And if it's ranked 500, Amazon's going to push that up to page 1 because it's just converting so much better, because they've got an equal or better looking product than everybody else, but they're selling it at half the price. So Amazon pushes it up. But then you've got to maintain that price. You've got to maintain that sort of conversion as you creep the price back up. So that's how conversion works. It's another analogy is saying it's a bit like going to a really, really popular party. So page 1 of Amazon is like where all the cool kids are hanging out in their party. Now, the only way to get into that party is to bribe the bouncer. Just start with it. And you either bribe the bouncer by dropping your price or by buying advertising, and then you can go into the room. But there's only 2 ways to bribe that bouncer.
Yeah, so say you were getting into a nightclub and you've bribed the bouncer and you've gotten in, and you want to stay popular, right? You want to be the known to person in the club or the room or whatever it is. What are you what do we look at doing in terms of optimizing our listing and our product descriptions or our images or whatever it is to ensure that we do, not just slowly bring our prices back up, but also allow us to, stay ranked?
Yeah. So think of it again like a party, right? And think of
Yeah.
it as the most shallow party in the world. Be hot. Be hot. If you're
Yeah.
hot and you get invited into the celebrity party, you are extremely good looking, you're
Mm.
going to get invited back, right? And you won't have to go to the bouncer again. So products are the same. So it's not just about buying your way in. If you're ugly and you bought your way in, you're not going to get an invite back. You're always going to have to pay, right? Like it's
Yeah.
so horrible about the way humans work.
The analogy, but yeah.
With the products, it's the same thing. So if you create, we say to our students, look at the top selling products on Amazon, and irrespective of price, you've got to have something that competes on looks to start with, because it is a beauty contest. It's a
Yeah.
visual platform. When you look up something, the first thing you do is look at the photos. If you don't like what you see in the photo, you don't even look at the price. You don't look at the reviews, nothing else. We're shallow when it comes to what it looks like. So have a great looking product, something that stands out visually. Don't tell me that it's stronger or it's thicker or it's got an extra clear coat which stops it from cracking. If I can't see it, then nobody's going to read what the difference is. I have to see the difference, and it has to be a difference that people go, wow, that one's hot. Long before we get to Amazon, as you print out the photos, the first image of the top 10 of the top selling products in that category in Amazon, get a renderer to do one of your product and put it randomly in amongst it and get some friends around and say, which of those products, if you were to pick one, which one would you pick? And you've got to be getting picked out of the lineup, half the time or something like that, to see that on the basis of nothing but looks, people like it. That's half the battle. So yeah, you've got to have great quality photos. You've got to have relevant keywords. You've got to know, because again, for any one product, there's a number of, I use analogies a lot. So another one is catwalk of models, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one product can go down any number of catwalks. Over on this catwalk, there's huge crowds of people around that one particular catwalk. Well, that's the catwalk for the main keyword, right? This is the main keyword that people are trying to, let's say you sell black iPhone cases. So you put black iPhone case, there's going to be a shit ton of traffic around that catwalk. So you can go to compete there, but what you might be better off doing is going into, because it's such a big category, iPhone cases, you might be better off going into socially responsible or eco-friendly or vegan black iPhone case. There's going to be far fewer people around there, but still plenty enough buyers to make money. And a lot of people couldn't actually afford to be on that first catwalk anyway, because I would guess
Competition's so fierce and low margins and
just the volume, mate. Like,
yeah.
Weighted blankets is a great example. We just got one here in my home. The average weighted blanket on Amazon does 150 grand a month on page one. And people go, that's what I'm going to do. But I'm like, well, dude, hang on, let's do the math. Let's say you've got, let's say the cost price of $150,000 worth of stuff is 40 grand. You need 3 months of inventory in stock because you need that month. Plus, you need one more month because you got a month delay between manufacture and ship and all this stuff. So you're going to need maybe 3 months. You need 120 grand US sitting in the warehouse at all times and some on the water, right? So can you even afford to play at that level yet? If not, then let's go over here to the vegan friendly ones.
Totally different ball game, isn't it? And so with those, say somebody was going to buy an Amazon business, right? And they're selling, say, weighted blankets. We have one as well with the little glass balls. It's eco-friendly. It's not toxic and stuff like that. Really good in winter. Would you say somebody that's bought, for example, an Amazon business is selling weighted blankets to people who, just wanting to buy it for winter, and they're not really, like, just trying to get the cheapest blanket, and it's got like some of the, toxic sort of synthetic things in it. It's not so good for you. And that market's saturated, or that catwalk you would say is saturated. Would you say it could be a good strategy for that person who's just purchased that business to change catwalks with the same product, but market it to a different category or a different catwalk or maybe change the balls inside and have it be eco-friendly or something like that?
If it's making money, I assume they bought it because it's making money. So if it's making money, I wouldn't mess with it. But I'd certainly test launching a new SKU with the keywords optimized towards one of those less competitive markets where they could get a premium price for an eco-friendly or whatever version of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the supplier relationship is obviously in place and it's valuable, but I wouldn't mess with something that's making money.
Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah. The problem with those big categories, is simply this. Like a Chinese factory can just as easily see that it's 150 grand a month being made on Amazon on these blankets. Now, most people who start, and in our students, we have 11,000 students. Their mums and dads are starting out for the first time. They might put 20 grand or 50 grand into their business. They're small, right? If you're a Chinese manufacturer, you've got $10 million in the bank, and the Chinese government's not, doesn't let you move the money out of the country, your interest rate is crappy, you don't want to put your money in the stock market or anything else. If you know that you can turn over $100,000 worth of blankets a month at 10% margin, that's 10% per month compounding on their money. To them, that's totally acceptable, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But to us, we can't live on 10%. Why? And nor should we, right? That's to me crazy. I would
stress levels that come with it too, and yeah.
No, just go and buy a commercial property and accept 7 or 8%. You can walk by it. You've got tenants, and that's why those smaller niches, the bigger niches, like competing with Amazon Basics or things like that. These people who own those top of those categories have money problems, but of a whole different kind. They have too much money. That getting 10% a month for them is amazing, and you don't want to be fighting those guys.
No, there's some big fish for sure. So a strategy that like we sort of talk about when people have purchased a business in terms of like de-risking it once they've purchased it, like an Amazon business. Once it's got some legs and it started to grow a bit of a brand, you talked about being hot, like while you're in the party and staying hot. Now, we sort of talk about, taking that, you've built a bit of a brand, bit of a name on Amazon, and taking that off Amazon to de-risk and be a bit, not be so reliant on just the Amazon buyers and the pool there. Is that a good strategy that you see that can work? And what other sort of strategies do you see that can help people de-risk?
I think that's a terrific strategy. And look, I'm an Amazon guy, right? Like, that my car has an Amazon number plate, right? Amazon are assholes to do business with. They're a horrible corporation, in my opinion. Right now, they're in Congress, right? The government is talking about breaking them up. They are assholes because 3,000 to 5,000 people a day apply to sell on Amazon. They have all the traffic. They will never be beaten. Like, there's no way anybody's going to knock Amazon off. They are the most valuable company in the world. They're assholes because they bring something so valuable. But the downside is they own the customer. They own you. They can cancel you. They can suspend you. They can, if you get too many product returns, they'll just block your listing until you resolve it. You are dancing for them. So what I would, if I was starting again now, I would launch on Amazon to get traction, get my product known, get some reviews, and then I would open a Shopify store as well, because the work in building an Amazon business is in the sourcing. It's identifying the niche, developing the supplier relationship, and getting the inventory to a standard and packaged and branded. Once all that's done, it's then just a distribution problem. So if you've got the inventory, you've got the brand, you've got everything else, starting your own Shopify or e-commerce store is really smart. And an e-com store is worth more than an FBA store because you own the customer. That being said, that's a whole beast on its own. We own an e-commerce brand, which we've been building for the last year. And we did it because we're going to be selling a Shopify course. It's taken us a year to launch it and then figure out how to actually make it profitable when you have no traffic. It's not an easy problem to solve. You've got to learn that. But it's absolutely worthwhile. It's really exciting when you know, hey, I've got 100 email addresses this month. I've got 500 email addresses now. I've got 5,000 email addresses. And already we get on that Shopify brand, more than half of our sales each month come from, we're buying customers that break even or better through Google Shopping and Facebook and traffic and stuff. And of those repeat purchases, there's no cost of acquisition. And that game is all about buy customers, as many as you can for as near to zero as possible, and then sell them more shit. That's the business model.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. And so in an Amazon business, when you're trying to sell it, you're selling basically a funnel that works within an algorithm, which is Amazon. And you've got a proven product and all that sort of stuff. But when you're buying a business, say your business that you're creating, and maybe in 2 years' time, if you sell it, you're buying that list, that database, and that you own that. Whereas when you're buying an Amazon business, you don't own those customers.
Right.
It's like the remarketing thing is not a thing in Amazon, right?
Amazon don't allow you to remarket to them.
Yeah.
They are their customers. They've even now stopped, I believe, giving you addresses. Like, they are tyrannical about it.
They can do it. Like you said, they've got you dancing because they own all the parts of it. It's the monopoly there.
Yeah, total monopoly. And I think it'll be good if the government does intervene with Amazon. It'll be really good for sellers. Sellers account for 2/3 of their marketplace sales. So, you know, they should get a lot more respect from Amazon than they do. At the end of the day, Amazon have won. And if you want to play in that sandpit, you want traction and sales from day one, then that's where you go.
So tell us about the Amazon and, you know, them being in Congress, and why do you believe that would, you know, sort Amazon out a bit and make them a better company for sellers and maybe even affiliates?
Well, you know, it's like any company that gets too big, not any, but a lot. I think Amazon treat their sellers very poorly. Like, I mean, there's no other way to describe it. I've had instances where they will suspend my account for suspicious credit card activity or any number of reasons. Once they did it, I had like $200,000 worth of inventory in one of their warehouses, and they said, your account's been deactivated, you're suspended. And I couldn't call them. They wouldn't answer emails. They kept debiting my credit card for storage fees. 200 grand's worth of stock in. They held $120,000 because they pay out every 2 weeks. So 120 grand US until they resolved an issue which they didn't tell me what it was. It was, so
that's 320K just sitting there that can't be,
US, it's just frozen. I had inventory just about to be loaded onto ships in China, but now I can't send it in because I can't get into my account to print off the shipping labels. Wow. So they're saying, where's my money? And I know I can't sell it on the other side. So there's another 100 grand of inventory there. So, and the idea that they don't give you a phone number to pick up and talk to somebody is just, what business in the world can get away with that? They could charge you for a service and don't even give you a phone number to talk to them, and you've made them tons of money, right? And I've seen accounts much bigger than mine have the same treatment. They just don't get, right? Because they get 3 to 5,000 new applications a day to sell on Amazon. Now, most of them would never sell. Most of them just get told that selling on Amazon's easy. They get very excited. People sign up and quit before. There's 98% of people who open an Amazon seller account close the account before they've listed a single product.
Wow.
And that's just purely, that's out of a survey from Market Pulse. 98.2%. So only 1.8% actually go live with the product. And that's because there's, sourcing, product research, all those things take time. So when you look at that, and, our community, we've got 11,000 students, $1.3 billion in sales, which is about an average of about 100 grand in sales per student. Now, it doesn't work that it's an average, of course, as 20% of people make most of the money, but it's still a pretty impressive stat in that world. And the reason that our students are succeeding is just the one thing we tell them is what I just told you. It's really hard, and Amazon are a pack of arseholes. And if you know that going in, you're more likely to succeed because you didn't expect it to be easy. And that's why we tell people. And if you've got to be patient, and like on Tuesday night and tonight, I'm doing interviews with students who've been suspended for no apparent reason to explain how they got unsuspended. But it's just part of the beast, and at the same time, we have students that have, cracking 100 a month, 200 grand a month, $1 million a month. We've seen them.
I think it's a great way when people come into business to say, hey, this is very different to waking up each day, going to work and getting told what to do. You really have to be so responsible for yourself, and it's hard work. It's going to take some time to get to that point where you're making an income level. And I think you setting that expectation for your students that come in is really good for them. Yeah. And also good for you guys, knowing that hey, it's you're not putting all the emphasis on just us to make sure you do it. You've got to put in the work, but know that it's hard work. And so Amazon just shutting accounts down, I've seen it happen to, multiple friends as well in business there in Amazon. And like you said, with the credit card one, it's really tricky. There's not much you can do about that. There's not much you can do about when somebody has a bad sends out a bad product review, and because they didn't know how to either use the product or, something happened. Is there some ways at all that you can minimize your account getting shut down outside of not outside of the control of those?
Yeah, it's just so random. And the reason is because it's AI driven. So Amazon have robots running so much of the site now. And we've had it where, it's been too low resolution, or they want to, you'll upload the same exact document. One's a PDF, one's a JPEG, and they'll accept the JPEG and not the PDF. If there's any discrepancy between the credit card address and the address that's filed as your mailing address, and it's AI, so it's exact. If there's one letter out, one number out, whatever, bang, suspension. And they're overwhelmed because Amazon has been playing catch up for 25 years. They've started off Jeff Bezos's garage 25 years ago, and now they're $1 trillion company. So any company goes from zero to $1 trillion in 25, not even one lifetime, quarter of a lifetime. They're just playing catch up the whole time.
Yeah, it's insane growth. Somebody's bought an Amazon business, or even they've gotten to a certain rank in their product on the different catwalk, and they're making, a certain amount of sales. Are there some low-hanging fruits? And I know that you've got ZonGuru that you founded as well. Is there some tools in ZonGuru that help low-hanging fruits? And if so, what would they be as well?
ZonGuru is a piece of software for people listening that shows people, among many other things that it does, how much products are making on Amazon every month. So you can put in any product, it'll load up and tell you the sales. Yeah, the low-hanging fruits are always keywords in Amazon. So looking for keywords that have decent traffic, low competition, So if you can walk into a room and you're a 7 or 8 hot, and you go into a room that's crowded and they're all solid 3s and 4s, then you're going to do well. And ZonGuru has some training and tools that help you identify niches that have high search volumes on keywords and low competition. And also and one of the metrics we use there is a low number of reviews. So if you look on a category and page 1, the average product has 50 reviews, that's a low competition niche. It means that there's not the really high volumes and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, they do have specific tools. Keywords on Fire is one of their best tools, and it shows, reveals keywords to you that, you can then engineer products around. So it says, let's look in camping equipment, and it'll find really good opportunities based on a whole range of variables. So you can actually search for products with a data first approach. One that we used as an example was an inflatable camping pillow. So inflatable camp beds are actually really competitive, but inflating camp pillow was way less competitive. Really, really good margin, $25 for a product you pay $2 for. Ways to differentiate, lots of real estate. It's a big surface area, so you can put the
easy to ship as well.
Easy to ship, it doesn't really break. So there are some really good tools that ZonGuru have to help you.
Yeah, so if Keywords on Fire was probably the best, keyword search tool, or the best tool, because one of the best low-hanging fruits is keywords for Amazon, would you say that a way to optimize a business, once you've got one SKU that is working, is use that to maybe get another few different SKUs to...
Keywords on Fire is going to alert you to the catwalks that the product you already have should be on, but maybe not. So that means optimizing for that keyword term. And what that actually means is you identify this catwalk over here. Let's say it's black vegan handbags for women, that you might find through Keywords on Fire. That's a category you should go to. So you obviously you put that into your listing, those keywords, but then you start bidding on those keywords using PPC, and you drive traffic there as well. So that's how you actually execute on that idea.
And with the PPC, it's very different to, you talked about using Google Ads for your Shopify store, and you can also use Facebook and stuff like that. Using PPC within Amazon is quite different. So how does that actually work? Is it, I put $1,000 in and they just try and get my product listing in front of as many people as they can for $1,000? And do we have any control over how this works? Or
It's not too dissimilar to how Google works. Basically, you can do exact match. So say black iPhone case, which means that only that search term will your ad show for, or broad match, where you give Amazon some discretion to use their algorithms and show up for things that they think are good. Yeah, or phrase match. So there's 3 different types, and it's very similar. Yeah, you can set a daily budget, $20 a day. You watch you watch your budget, you see how it gets spent, you see your high converting keywords, and sometimes you'll leave some broad match campaigns running all the time because you'll see, like Amazon, the only time you'll actually get to see any keyword data from Amazon as it relates to a specific product is when you allow Amazon to spend your money to show your product to searchers. So you'll get this keyword report that shows every click they sold you, and you'll go, oh, look at this one's converting really well, and it'll reveal a keyword that you might not have thought of. So we go into quite a bit of length in that in our course on the PPC, because PPC is really, that's the bouncer, right? So you launch a product, your page 1,000, PPC is the bouncer that can get you on page 1 straight away. That's buying your way into the party.
And it's also like once you are on page 1, or or just back a bit from page 1, you've got the fire burning. If you were to throw some petrol on that fire, that's your PPC, right?
It is, and if you're already there, PPC is, for sure. There are categories that you have to do be PPC, like supplements. I don't think any supplements on page 1 are there without PPC. And so you might look at a supplement product and 50% of their sales come from PPC, and they make no money on that 50%, but they don't care because the other 50% is $100,000 a month in revenue, where they're making 40 or 50% margin from those organic, because supplements are generally very high margin sort of thing, makeup, supplements, topicals, things like that.
Excellent. And so with the PPC, if you were to see that this keyword's working quite well, you can put more money behind that keyword and just go, all right, cool. So you can test and measure against different keywords like you would with Google Ads, right?
100%. Yeah. You can get really strategic, so you can set times that you want to bid and times that you don't. A lot of times people set their bids to kick in the afternoon because in the morning everybody's got their full budget, but by lunchtime nobody's in the market anymore and the prices will drop on words. And so they'll turn their ads on later in the day and get the afternoon trade when everybody else has burnt through their budget. So there's lots of sort of ninja techniques and stuff you can deploy if you want.
Yeah, excellent. And so if somebody was looking to, say, learn more about Amazon PPC, you said you've got a course, or is that within Reliable Education course? Or?
It's within our course. We also recommend a company out of Florida called Page.one. It was co-founded by us, but we since sold our shares in the company, but they're a great company still. We don't own it anymore. Page.one in Florida are a PPC specialist. It's just Page.one. And it's run by a guy called Keith O'Brien, and they do Amazon PPC. Specific, they don't do Google PPC, they just do Amazon PPC.
Excellent. Guys, there will be a link to that in the show notes. And Adam, thank you so much for your time. You've got a lot going on. Where should we be sending people other than Reliable Education? Because we know Reliable Education is definitely your Amazon space. You got some other cool things going on, like Zon Guru.
Yeah, we got Zon Guru, which is the software now. I honestly think it's probably the best Amazon seller software in the world. There is software that's more well known, but there's none that is as good, I don't think. But I think it's the best now. We've really invested in that technology. So zonguru.com. We're just about to kick off Uspired, which is an app. That's U-Y-O-U and Inspired, as in inspired, but Uspired. And that's an app for anybody who's got an audience and a positive skill to amplify. So basically open the app and people pay to follow your daily or bi-daily or weekly or whatever lives that you do. So that's just about to get kicked off. People can go to uspired.com and have a look at that. And that's it. I mean, that's probably all the places that are best to sort of reach out and learn more if they want to learn more.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Adam. All those links will be in the show notes. And for everybody listening, thank you for listening. Now, before you rush off and go away and listen to something else, if you can think of 1 to 2 or 3 friends that are interested in learning more about Amazon and making money on Amazon, make sure you do them a massive favor and share this podcast episode. That's it from me today, guys. Thanks so much.